That's a teacher. That's a real teacher. And then that math counts.
These now.
That's kids on the road.
Not yet, we're getting everything ready. Every time I go
My
to
sons and Moses.
And the 12 or 11
every time I go to those classes, I
police
get more and more.
advanced at state level.
Good afternoon and welcome to this agenda review meeting of the Nacogdoches Independent School District Board of Trustees. Let the record show that a quorum of the board members is present and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. Board member Mindy Winslow was unable to attend today. Like to remind us that all items on the agenda are for discussion only. No action will be taken at this meeting. If you would, please join us in turning your phones to silent mode. We didn't receive any requests to address the board for the public comment as outlined in the meeting notice. We'll first discuss items from the consent agenda, and again, no action will be taken. At this time, we'll call on Ms. Lisa Bobrick.
Good afternoon, President Irvin, board members, Dr. Trujillo. I'd like to begin with the budget amendments, which can be found on page 15. And this may be tying with a record of only one budget amendment. Again, I'm touching our investment earnings because we continue to earn more than we budgeted and applied this increase of $187,560 to pay for the upgrades to the various campuses' door locks. Next, I'd like to move on to the donations. Donations under $2,500. Regay received $430 for their student council from Grace Bible. And CTE received $500 for robotics from Michael and Amy Shattuck. I hope I said that right. Next, I'd like to discuss the investment report. Here we see that we've, in the general fund, just this last month, we earned $151,000. Debt service, we earned a little over $11,000. And in bond, we earned $47,000 for a total of $210,507. Any questions on investments? And if you have any questions on any of my other reports, I'll take them now.
Any questions?
No, I'm curious, on these donations, do people just come to us and say, we would like to help NISD and we want to donate this or that, or do we solicit those donations?
I think it's both.
It's both? Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say thank you to this family, Michael and Amy Shadig. They really made a good investment because right immediately we have performance at a state level, the top 10, number 9. So we really appreciate everyone that contributes, including Grace Bible. But that's they're not contributing; they're investing. It's a great investment in our students.
Amen.
Good. Commercial kitchens.
All right, that's me again. We are bringing to you a purchase of over $25,000. We went out to bid for some replacement of serving lines at BQJ. We received 4 companies responded, And we would like to give Commercial Kitchens the bid. They were the highest rated at 100, and their bid was up for $143,255. This will be coming from the Child Nutrition Fund.
What page is that on?
Page 64.
Thank you.
On the following page, you'll see the matrix where their scores are.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, Mr. Tarvin, we're going to pull that one.
Actually, that item there, President and Board, I will be pulling that item for the agenda, and then we'll
Okay.
come back to you at a future date.
Okay.
Which item is it?
3C2, Mobile Communications.
Okay. Mr. Martin.
Good afternoon, President Urban, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. Here, administration proposes to purchase 420 Chromebook computers and 5 charging carts to use for online testing and to provide additional loaner devices. The total amount of the purchase is $174,551. Administration is proposing that we purchase these items out of general fund, $39,680, and $134,871 out of ESSER 3 funds. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Martin, all those Chromebooks, after the testing done, will be collected back?
Yes, sir. These will be stored at each one of the campuses in a cart. They'll be used for loaner purposes. Kid doesn't bring theirs to school, they can be loaned out. Or if we have testing and we need additional
That is my question, for
Chromebooks.
future testing can be
Yes, sir.
used. Thank you.
What campuses?
The campuses are going to be Nacogdoches High School,
BQJ.
I'm sorry, I have this here somewhere. Mr. President, may I yield the floor to Kirsten
Sure.
to answer that question? Is she here?
While she's coming in, most of the testing you'll see will happen at the secondary campuses when it comes to it, so.
Secondary.
So that is going to be for all of the campuses except for NHS. The last board meeting, we approved NHS, and then we came back in. Now this will be for all elementaries. There'll be 3 at McMichael, and then all the elementaries, and then Margie Tremley, everybody will have 1 card.
So are these replacement,
No, sir. What these are, we're moving to online testing as a state.
Okay.
And we are at the mercy of young folks that will appropriately charge and arrive to school with a ready device to submit to the state. And the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim. So we want to guarantee that our students, if they don't, and I'm not going to say they're not all, but if a student does not arrive with a fully charged device, these have been aligned to and upgraded to what we need with regards to the testing. Especially because we've transitioned out a lot of our older systems. We're at a point that it's the device the kids are carrying. And so we want to make sure that all students, especially with a year that it's 100% online testing, that we do have a device that's there for the students to utilize for our kids.
Well, then will this provide a percentage of loaners, or will we have one-to-one loaners with this purchase and the one we did for
Right
NHS?
now, all the students are 1-to-1, so they all
Right,
have the device.
right, but I mean with this, and this is like backup.
Yes.
Are we getting back, what's the percentage a backup we're preparing for?
It just kind of depends on the campus, you know, we just kind of listen to the principals about what their needs were for their
Okay.
campuses.
Uh-huh.
You know, the high school obviously needed 3 carts because, you know, they kind of have more. Elementary, you know, they didn't need as many because a lot of times they'll keep theirs kind of on campus, kind of a mixture on campus.
Make sure
and
it's
send them home.
charged, yeah.
And then, I know at middle school, when they were doing their testing online, they had a lot of students that just didn't bring a device that day, so they didn't have enough for every kid. So this was kind of just what the principals said
Okay.
they needed as their wish list.
Good. And certainly at elementary level, they can just say, you don't get to take it home tonight. We're charging over the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
A benefit as well with this is that when we get to summer school opportunities, a lot of times a device has been issued to a student. The last thing we want to do is take a device that has been the responsibility of that one student and then distribute it out for times like summer school. This would allow Kirsten and her group to, as we get into summer transition, what are they going to use for the devices and be able to prepare those devices so that when we hit summer school, because it's pretty quickly, that instructional device is ready for us to hit the ground running with the kids. So there's some added benefit to having the devices there for kids.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Are there any more questions? Okay, if not, Dr. Corley.
Good afternoon, President Irvin, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Trujillo. Coming to you this afternoon with a purchase over $25,000 that's actually an aggregate cost. In the fall of 2022, we implemented Patterns of Wonder and Patterns of Power as a means to provide an instructional resource to authentically teach grammar at the elementary level. The quote that you have access to for $7,770 will allow us to vertically align in middle school and high school. Those resources were not available in the fall, but now that they are, we're ready to phase in those 2 grade level bands, as well as a purchase for resource books for elementary reading language arts teachers, which will allow them to differentiate more because it involves multi-grade level instructional plans for teachers.
So this is just like $7,000 added on to what we've already, okay.
Yes, sir, the initial purchase was $24,000, $429.08, and so with this additional cost, it would put us over the 25 grand threshold.
Yeah, because I went back to look and then read more carefully and thought, oh, this never was presented to us because you didn't have to. But I'm assuming that since you've used it these many months, you really are happy, and it is absolutely aligned with TEKS, because otherwise, as you know, it's so much more work for the teachers to try to know that they're addressing particular TEKS if the material isn't aligned, and the teachers are very happy with it.
Absolutely.
What makes me nervous is that we're
Yes.
going to spend a little bit more money before we've tested to see how happy we are with it.
I can speak to the alignment to our state standards.
Yeah.
In Module 11 of the Reading Academies, that was part of House Bill 3 for K through 3 teachers. It's completely supported of the writing conventions that's required by our state standards.
And but the language is the same. I know with Fontes and Pinnell, the language wasn't the same, so when they do their lesson plans, they were having to figure out what TEK. I know that may have changed, because when I heard that, we had not gotten all the material in from Fontes and Pinnell. Hopefully that changed, because that was just a headache. I guess what I'm asking is, we didn't have this extra resource for the teachers, so with what they have had, what are you hearing? Are they saying, oh, man, we're just not getting it, and so we want those resources to figure it out, or, no, this is really, really great, and I think the resources will be even better?
From our observations and work with our teacher teams on the elementary campuses, we know that there is an intentional focus on the writing items for state assessment, as well as just to help our students to develop with literacy. And on that extended constructed response, 2 of the 5 points that students receive are directly related to conventions and grammar. And so to intentionally implement this structure for authentic grammar has been beneficial from the teacher feedback that we've received
Okay,
on elementary level.
okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, I don't have.
Thank you, Dr. Courtney. With that, we'll go to the second reading of the TASB Policy Update 120, Local Policies. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. President, Board. If the Board recalls, during your February meeting, you passed the first reading of the TASB 120 Policy Update. The administration has made no revisions or changes to the policy since the February reading. The administration recommends the Board approve second reading, Policy 120.
Any questions? Thank you. Dr. Lilly.
Yes, sir. President Irving and Board, the item 3E, in accordance to the board policy with the Texas Education Code, the election for Nacogdoches Independent School District Board of Trustee will be held on May the 6th, 2023. Early voting by personal appearance will be at the Nacogdoches County Courthouse Annex located at 203 West Main Street, beginning Monday, April 24th through Friday, April 28th, 2023, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily, and on May 1st and May 2nd, 2023, from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. Election day voting will also be held at the Nacogdoches County Courthouse Annex from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Candidates for board positions will be filled in the election are trustee at large, position 5, incumbent, Farshid Nirman is uncontested. Trustee, District 2, position 4, incumbent, Leah Beth Apt, uncontested. Trustee, District 3, position 3, incumbent, Mr. James Montoya. Running with him is Damon Jackson. The board, our recommendation is the notice of election on May the 6th, 2023, Board of Trustees election for at-large District 2 and District 3 places is what we're presenting there.
Thank you. Any questions? With that, we'll go to the unopposed at-large positions.
Yes, sir. President Irving and Board, certification of unopposed candidates, the at-large District 2 race for the May 6, 2023 election are unopposed. NISD is responsible for having the official ballots prepared, therefore needs to certify in writing that the candidates are unopposed, and the governing body, the board, has met and accepted this certification. The next step will be to issue an order declaring the at-large and District 2 elections canceled and the unopposed candidates declared elected at the next agenda item. A copy of that order will also be posted on election day at the polling locations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Sapp and Mr. Coach Niraman.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, 3G.
Now is the order of cancellation that we would be presenting. The at-large and District 2 positions for the May 6, 2023 election are unopposed. To cancel an election, the governing body must first receive and approve the certification and of the unopposed candidates, which was previously on the agenda item. This order cancellation only applies to at-large and District 2 positions, as District 3 has 2 candidates.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Okay, 3 H.
Reverend Irving and Board, this is a tremendous honor that is extended to myself as a superintendent here in Nacogdoches. The Regional Advisory Committee is comprised of Region 7 superintendents and charter school CEOs. Region 7 bylaws state that Regional Advisory Committee members from local school districts must be certified by the Board of Trustees prior to May 12, 2023, and that is what this recommendation is, that I would serve on the advisory committee with regards to Region 7, representing as superintendent.
Congratulations. Thank you. If there are no questions, we will now proceed with the items from our discussion and action portion of our agenda. First of all, we have consideration of District of Innovation Plan. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, sir. The consideration of District Innovation Plan, this has been ongoing with regards to making the process very transparent with the community. We had we have three committees that broke in based on the items that we had. I want to thank Board Member Leah Beth Apt, who has sat in representing the board and just kind of sitting in and looking, non-voting member with us. Also, Farshid Nermand was rallying there with us as well, and came in and sat down and engaged and was able to see the dialogue of the groups. You'll notice in this process, it was comprised of staff members, both professional, non-professional. They were also comprised of an invitation to the community, parent, that came out and was part of the process. Administration, we had also district-level administrators that were there, as well as representatives from the board. You'll hear more details about this from the actual chair individuals that were voted on, and that was pretty exciting. The committee themselves voted their own leadership from within each committee. And so you'll be pleased to hear from those individuals on Thursday evening about the outcome and the discussions that was generated. We also posted all of this out and put it on the web. The proposals were posted for 30 days. Community was able to read and look at it and provide any feedback. Matter of fact, this last week, the committees reconvened one last time to review any and all contributions that the community may have had with this process. I'm pretty excited with the outcome and the efforts of our educators that have come in, and you'll see very well-informed committee chairs that will be entertaining you on Thursday with regards to their recommendation, and then finally, the board will take one action with regards to the District of Innovation on that evening, rather than three different. We looked at calendar, we looked at certification, and then we looked on one item that dealt with on the budget side with regards to the conversation. So I'll take any questions that you may have for that.
I would be interested in hearing Ms. Apt's take on the pulse of the committee and the excitement of the people concerning becoming a District of Innovation.
Yes, I was honored to have that opportunity to sit in, but it was no sacrifice at all to sit in those several hours each time just to listen to our teachers. We hear so much negativity about teaching and how burned out they are, and the difficulties, and the difficulties are definitely there, but to hear them talk as they addressed what would help, and you get the impression that teachers, especially maybe from parents, they go, oh, we're going to have another staff development day, and so I've got to deal with my child and all this, and it's because those teachers don't want, no, you listen to those teachers, and they are figuring out how they can work in time that they don't have during normal school days to do the planning and the preparation for the reteaching and all the necessary things, much less documentation and testing. And they were just so serious and so dedicated to come up with a good, workable calendar. And that was exciting. And as a former teacher, I just went, oh, man, I wish we had done this years ago. But, and then also with the certification, to hear their input. So my main takeaway is that we have great faculty out there. We have very dedicated teachers. And they know what they need, and they are asking for it. They're not afraid to ask for it. And that's a real privilege, because then we can do all we can to try to give it to them. Yeah.
Awesome.
I was excited.
Coach, did you have anything you want to add?
I was not in attendance first meeting that they went through, but the next 3 meetings I was very, very impressed. I always, through my years of experience, I draw some conclusion. At one time, I made a conclusion that in America, a committee of 5 always functions best when 4 of them are absent. However, that operation totally changed my mind, because everybody voiced themselves, everybody made a small or large contribution, made some adjustment here and there, changed the colors of coding, color coding. I was very impressed. It changed my mind, and I'm sure they came to a really, truly productive conclusion, which is good for students and good for the teachers as well.
What was the pulse as it relates to the calendar? Were the teachers impressed with the calendar?
I think they were thrilled to be able to make the necessary adjustments they need to make the most of the day. That bondage that TEA puts on us, that we can't start until so late in August, it just crams everything together. But the main thing I think that they were thrilled with, but then here I'm going to be bringing in my own prejudice, because I was sitting among secondary teachers, is the fact that our semesters can end before Christmas break. And that helps so much with the testing, because after a 2-week holiday, these kids aren't coming back and suddenly being tested. But also, it helps so much because we have a lot of dual credit with SFA, and their semester ends before Christmas. So that in itself is worth the whole process, I think, yeah.
It really is a good point, because there are a lot of sports, their season is split between back and forth before Christmas, after Christmas, and a lot of coaches holding their fingers crossed, they come back and pass the test so we stay eligible. So finishing it
Right,
before
yeah.
truly helps a lot.
For eligibility, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
As each of you're aware, and you know that this time next year, we're going to be right back here addressing the calendar. So what would be the advantages or disadvantages of looking at a multi-year calendar instead of just for this year, maybe for 2 or 3 years, since this calendar was
Well,
appreciated?
I think Dr. Trujillo, yeah, you addressed that with DOI, we don't have to look from year to year. How many years do we have?
I think the conclusion was, throughout the next year's half of the year, we evaluate to see where we are, how effective it is, and we wait to see what the SFAs and University
Right.
of Texas work
About
it out,
spring
so we
break,
can
yeah.
make those necessary adjustments.
But we have the freedom to do, how many years?
2 years.
2?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
The-
so we
the-
can at least do 2 years at a time.
The exciting thing is, as you're hearing the board talk about this and the questions you're asking, is the generation of the questions and the thought-provoking came from the committee. Because the committee, it was brought up with them, do we want to look at a multiple-year contract, a multiple-year calendar? And it was very, very thrilling to hear the teachers say, wait, let's wait. Let's see how this year goes. We've set up a calendar. Let's see if there's some areas that we have to adjust, and then we can tweak it rather than adopting a 2-year calendar. and having to fix it. So this time next year, this committee can come in here and refine it, look at it, see where stumbling areas were, and maybe come back to the board and come in with a multiple-year calendar for our folks. A multiple-year calendar serves very well for a number of reasons. When teaching and learning is looking for long-term commitments, and a lot of times it costs us more money to get a speaker or somebody to come in and talk to our kids, whereas if you can get out there 24 months in advance, get on their docket, and they make a commitment, then we know we're going to bring them on board. The other thing is, our teachers want, and our educators want to have time to plan things that they can refill their buckets. Something as simple as a vacation. If they know that spring break is at this time, or Christmas break begins at this time, and it's 24 months out, it does them a tremendous honor for their resources and planning to be able to say, in 24 months, we're going to plan a big vacation. This is the calendar the school district has adopted. So rather than going year to year with regards to that. And one other item that is a big thing that we don't pay a lot of attention, but it deals with the high school, is graduation. Graduation by the committee's form, the school will end Thursday. Graduation is on Friday. So that means we're no longer asking high school teachers to run a skeletal crew of freshmen, sophomore, and juniors while they're working with the seniors over at SFA for graduation. That means that you can actually use your full staff and run graduation a full day and not worry about the safety and security of what's going on. I see our chief back there, Mr. Tarvin, they're working with task force. Trust me, when we don't have a full staff at the high school on that last day, it's pins and needles and making sure we don't have bad choices. So I know this committee did a tremendous job. They hit every item in the calendar, and when I thought they were going to come up with a really good thing and say, you know what, let's give ourselves a full fall break. No, they saw the value of instruction and said, we don't need a full fall break. Let's break it up. Let's think about the month of February. Another thing you'll notice in the calendar is teaching and learning and the data. We've got to have time for them to look at their data and be able to align their instruction. Each 6 weeks begins with a day that they can spend some time to look at data and be able to formulate the game plan to meet the instructional needs of the kids. It's pretty exciting to see that this is a culmination of teachers, educators. It wasn't administration sitting behind a counter, behind closed doors, coming up with a calendar and providing multiple calendars. And that's the other thing, Reverend, is this is one calendar, and when you arrive with the expertise of educators, you are afforded the opportunity to come in with one calendar that everyone has been able to contribute to, so it's exciting.
Oh, that reminds me that they also, in discussing having a day to review data, and they were very cognizant of, look at this, oh no, we've got 3 4-day weeks in a row, we can't do that,
Yeah.
because they were very much aware of parents and their needs and how a hardship it could be. Plus, you just 4-day weeks, or you might as well just toss it. Not much gets done.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Thank you.
What has been the community feedback in this process?
We put it out there once we started the process at the very beginning with anybody who wanted to come in and speak, and then we put it out there for 30 days, and everyone has an opportunity to review. A lot of the communication that we're hearing, it happened at the campus level, because we articulated that every campus has a representative or two, and they were fielding a lot of the questions and a lot of the information, so they were right at the fingertips and being able to get the answers. And you'll notice some of these committee members, including our board that was there, they were asked to come in there and participate in one or the other. Some of these folks participated in both, and so they were able to dialogue with regards to that. So we put it out there for the community. We got whatever input that was there, and then took it back to the committee. So there was some good opportunity for our community to come in there. But once again, I'm going to use this as an example. I was a scoutmaster. I had 12 boys in my scout troop, in my pack. There were only 2 dads, but I had 12 boys. That means I had 10 families that came by and dropped off their kids. But we provided those boys the best experience we could for scouts. So a lot of times when we reach out to the community and ask them to come in and participate, their schedule, they're not available. So it's the opportunity that was given for everyone, 30 days. And a lot of them may not have contributed the information, but it was posted, so they can actually download it, they can actually look at it and be able to interact. Les Lineberger did a great job of using our tool to communicate and get feedback through a survey. And that actually guided a lot of the conversation at the very beginning. So there was plenty of opportunity to get some good feedback from our folks throughout the process. Great questions.
Thanks.
I noticed in the calendar that, well, this year, our teachers had a work day after spring break. But next year, in this calendar, they won't have that.
No, and that was their selection.
Okay.
For the process. This year, we started school April the 3rd. Next year, I believe it's the 1st, right? First, Mr. Tarbin? August?
August 1st.
Yes, but what we're doing is combining a lot of that with opportunities that they've designed for teacher workdays. For instance, the very first 2 days before the kids arrive to school are work days. There's nothing more valuable than a teacher to be in their classrooms preparing to receive their kids. The elementary principals are excited because they actually can run Meet the Teacher or open house the 2 days before and not worry about staff development. Now, that puts a lot of pressure and onus with Dr. Hill and teaching and learning, because we have to have uninterrupted staff development, which is the week prior than that. So the other thing that you'll notice on the calendar, new teachers typically don't get paid until all teachers report. I don't know if we knew this, but new teachers come in and they work maybe 1 or 2 days, but they're not paid. They actually don't start until all the staff comes in. So in the strategy of this plan, all staff comes in on that Monday or that Tuesday, the 1st. However, all returning staff, that's a work day, 2 days of work days, and all new teachers get to go through the orientation. Our new teachers get paid because they all show up at the same time. And then that Friday is a work day. I'm going by memory, but I've seen this over and over and over as we were sitting through this process. That first Friday is a work day. We want to make sure to give teachers plenty of time to prepare their classrooms and be able to do the things they need to do to start the year. So it's exciting. I wish Mr. Whitaker was here. He could share with you. We even have a few teachers, even at the high school. I mean, Mr. Autry even shared this, that the calendar has made an adjustment with a few teachers to say, hey, I love this calendar. I was actually thinking I was going to go somewhere else, and here they are committing themselves because we've really done something to design a calendar that's smart for the classroom teacher.
Yeah, and that was one thing about the DOI, that flexibility that gives us to do this, and being in a room full of teachers with the committee and hearing them, we know that when you have to front load all that staff development and they are antsy to get out of that meeting to go to their classroom and set up. And elementary, they're working till 9 o'clock at night, trying to get ready and working this in so that they can have that time set aside. It really frees them up to be more attentive in the staff development.
Ms. Abt, I don't think this schedule imposed on them. This is what they choose. They made that decision.
Oh, yeah, that was the point I was trying to make. I mean, they're not sleeping anyway, so they're going to get up there and start working. They don't care if they're paid either. I mean, they want to be paid, but, yeah, they're just that dedicated.
Awesome.
A lot of times, there's cookie cutters or templates that are used in various things, like in medicine. I used to use it for all my dictations. But they don't want cookie cutter or templates. They want their custom manipulation of the calendar to meet the students' needs and their needs. And I think that this calendar is going to meet the students' needs and the teachers' needs, and then the parents' needs will be considered. So I think putting this in the hands of the people that actually utilize it is a really great thing, and they've come up with their custom plan, but they go, hardly anything's ever right the first time. And so we'll tweak it. And I think there's real wise that they're maybe better vision in some regards than we have sometimes, because we just go, I just want to do this one time and get over.
Right.
No, they want to find out what works, what doesn't, and what's best for their children, the students, our students, and for themselves, and our district, and our community.
Reverend Irvin, to that point, I may add, and this is a real example so that we can see the process of the thinking. Some folks may be wondering, why are we doing a half a week? Why are we starting off the year in the middle of the week? The secondary folks, it made sense for them because their schedule changes, they're adjusting people, and rather than blowing a whole week and moving kids around, the counselors, the social workers, everyone can build a relationship with the kids. You kind of can adjust their schedule. But the pre-K teacher, she touched my heart tremendously because she had a voice in that room. And she's going to be serving the littles of the littlest ones. And she said there's nothing tougher than a mom sending a school, their age kid, for the very first time to school, that they show up on a Monday and they're so exhausted when it gets to Friday because of the emotional toll to get them prepared for school. She loved and had an opportunity to participate in the dialogue and educate all of us on why a midweek start would be invaluable to a little. Because they can actually come in on a Wednesday, work on developing that routine on a short week, and then be able to dive in and put habits in place on that full, long week. So, to your point, Dr. Groman, the feedback that we had, everyone had a voice. You'd hear the secondary folks, but then the teacher of the littles was in the room and educated all of us on why it's important for the littles that are in there. So I'm very pleased with the dynamic that we've arrived with, and with the input that the staff had, the community coming in and having a dialogue. But I wanted to prove that as an example of what the dialogue was, so.
Well, it certainly seems like the committee and as well as the representatives for the district have pulled it all out there and did a good job of putting together, and it makes our job as board members to vote on it without having to get into the difficult parts of it. But again, thanks to all the committee members and everybody that participated, because it'll make our district a lot better to work in.
Thank you. With that, we'll move to the consideration of the student nutrition HVAC replacement project. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may direct the board's attention to page 424 of your board book. On January 3rd, 2023, the district accepted bid proposals for the Food Services HVAC Replacement Project. The attached proposal was received by Texas Air Systems through the TIPS bidding procedure. The numbers came in. Total for the project is $349,618. The breakdown is A&E fees of $21,300, owner contingency fees of contingency of $24,000, and the base bid was $304,318. We'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions?
I'm just curious, what does owner contingency mean in terms of the amount on that?
If I may call up Mr. LaRue.
$24,000.
Good afternoon. Owner contingency is to be specified. We hope we don't need it, but as we move through a project like that, particularly in a mature building, there's always some unforeseen, something that we uncover, and that is a little contingency of money that we will have to deal with that. If not, that gets turned back into finance.
Okay, so it's made available, but if it's not utilized, then it goes back to our fund.
Correct.
Okay,
Just in case.
thank you.
That's a good plan.
Thank you, Mr. LaRue. If there are no objections, we could have this moved to the consent agenda.
Yes.
No objections? Okay, I'll have that placed on this consent. Consideration of the NISD District REKIN project. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, President Irvin. Again, if I may direct the board's attention to page 428 of your board book. On February the 20th, 2023, the district accepted proposals for the remaining rekeying efforts across the district. The sites include Nacogdoches High School, 9th grade center, Brooks Gwynn Jones Elementary, TJR Elementary, and Regay Elementary. The results are back here. We are going to a district-wide standard with our keying. The base bid for this project was $512,534,000 with A&E fees of $20,500 and owner allowance and soft costs of $50,000, again making a total of $583,034. The administration recommends that the board approve this for purchase. If you have any questions, we are ready to answer.
Mr. LaRue, how many times we have, excuse me, how many times we have changed the locks at the high school since you have been with us?
We have not.
We have not?
Those are the original hardware at the high school.
Yep.
And that's a significant part of this cost, is replacing all that hardware.
Okay, I work closely to the 9th grade building, which was a mess and a half. Are these new locks would secure it so we don't have to deal with it again and again and again? In other words, it's not pull or push.
You're referring to a different issue there.
Right, maybe so.
This is the key mechanism, which gets us all into the same master key program, so that each school has a grand master, and then there's a grand master for the entire district.
I see.
The problem you're referring to is the door frames and the mullions, the bar in between, was perhaps not spec'd strong enough for high school. Would have been fine in elementary school, but in a high school environment has proven not to be durable. And
Yes.
we have got the majority of those, we feel, replaced. Part of this project does replace some entire door systems
Okay,
at the high school.
so it's two different things.
Yeah.
Coach Fashid, we'll never have that problem solved. The number of times that door opens and closes and the mechanical nature that happens with that door, no one will ever stand in front of you and say, we've solved that problem, because Ralph will be continually replacing that metal run. The metal wears out. We can buy a brand-new door, and just in a matter of days, because of it constantly the metal wearing down. So that part of it is the part that we're going to constantly monitor. This one, I can give you an example. When I first arrived 3 years ago, I asked for a master key. This was a master key for the entire district. So to gain access to a building, and it's an emergency, I have to go through every key to figure out which master key opens that building. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to get to a point that it's one key. If Ralph has one key, it'll let him get anywhere. If I need one key, if our chief of police needs one key, it gets in there. We don't have to go through multiple sets of keys for it. And that same key will allow us access in the building. So that's basically what we're getting to. This cost also, because we don't have the staff to do this, my understanding is this is also, they're going to come in and they're doing this.
Right.
The company is doing this. They're going to come in and this is their business. They do locks. And we're not going to have to hire additional locksmith to do this one transition. This is one that we would able to have the company come in, and they are going to bring their crew in and be able to take care of whatever we need to take care of.
And with the cost of that, does that include if they have an issue with a lock or something that they put in, that they come and they replace it without
Yes.
us having to pay extra?
Comes with keys and a warranty
Okay.
to service.
That's good.
I'm always about warranty and
Yeah.
make sure.
But with that, if there are no objections, we can have that placed on the consent agenda.
That's fine.
That'd be fine.
Okay, Holly, we'll have that placed on the consent agenda. All right, we come to E, consideration of the Martin Building and Prior Emmeline Carpenter School demolition project. Mr. Martin.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. On page 432 of your board book, on February 16, 2023, the district accepted bid proposals for the Martin Building and Prior Carpenter Site demolition project. The results of the bids are attached for your reference. The administration is recommending the board approve a bid from RNDI, whose base bid was $376,630. And then we have a cost for abatement. We need to abate and remove the material out of there of $2,999. We have A&E design fees of $30,500. We have a utility disconnect allowance of $40,000. And we have an owner allowance and soft cost of $95,000, bringing a total for this project to $745,129. We'll be happy to answer any questions you all may have.
This is for both facilities.
Yes, sir, both facilities.
I don't see, now, they'll demolish it and they remove everything they demolish. Is that correct? I don't see anything in here, just says demolition, so.
Yes, sir. They removed
That includes
everything.
cleaning up everything? Okay.
Mr. Martin, excuse me, there is possibility would be asbestos in those buildings.
Yes, sir.
If the contractor insured their workers, or it would be laying on us sometimes,
Their workers insured.
their workers would be insured. Okay.
It's not the question if, they're going to have asbestos, especially Carpenter. So the abatement, and just so the community knows, it's not just out in the air floating, it's when they remove the tile and that glue that's below the tile, now we have that, and so our kids have been safe. It's just, it's been under laminate, or it's been behind something, and now that we're destroying it or moving it, then it's going to be set up. I believe the demo will begin over at the Martin Building, because you're dealing with traffic from the school and nutrition services. Once they're completed there, they'll transition over to Carpenter, where at Carpenter, they have a little bit more time. There's not anything restrictive with regards to school. We just want to make sure that they get enough time to get started and be able to do what they need to take care of over at the Martin Building first.
Just a curiosity, do we know where they dump those,
They have a designated.
Was it the city?
Where they what?
We don't know.
where they dump those?
I don't know, but I know we own it. We own it for its life. So,
Right.
We do own it?
we own it. Any asbestos that's removed, it comes out, we own it. I mean, they'll take it, put it somewhere, but they log it and say, this is how much pound or tonnage they took out of Nacogdoches, and so,
They have to send it to an approved facility,
Yeah.
a storage facility. I think the closest one is in Longview from us, but they are responsible for that.
Thanks.
it'll look like ET was just identified, how secure they get the facility, so.
I just want to say that these buildings are dangerous and a liability. One injury in the condition they presently are in could set this district back a large amount of money beyond our insurance, and that would have an effect on our educating these students. We need to limit our liability and get rid of these dangerous things.
Thank you. If there are no objections, we can have item E placed on the consent agenda as well. If there are no objections. Thank you. Item F, Dr. Groveman.
You want me to do that now?
Yes.
Okay, well, I didn't come totally prepared, but I'm prepared. So, drove up to, just a minute and I'll tell you where I drove to.
F.
Where?
F on the agenda.
Right. Bullard. I drove up to Bullard, and I found the school. It was interesting. Had a great meal, and had, there's around 30-ish people there, including Dr. Enos from Carthage. And so I gave you this. This had come out before that. He's got another one that's out right now. If you go find this little magazine, he's got some more on this. But we were taught by Dax Gonzalez, and he also had his helper, and I think her name was Whitney. And I mean to tell you, they're telling you what happened that day in Austin, and they're encouraging us.
Dr. Groman.
What?
Would you look at your agenda? Look at your agenda.
Ticket to attending?
Agenda.
I can't
Is that the
understand.
resolution?
Yeah. Sure, I'm talking about.
Resolution about superintendent's nominee. What? Resolution about superintendent's nominee.
F.
No, he's just the superintendent Cushing. He writes articles regularly in the paper. I'm still not fitting.
Go ahead yourself.
I'm not
I
getting
see.
it. Okay.
Thank you. So let me, I gotta go with the agenda.
Go what now?
It's,
With the agenda.
Okay, am I?
No,
I'm not on, I thought you wanted me to do this.
I wanted you to do F.
Or what is F?
That's what I was telling you.
well, he doesn't have an agenda with him. He has the computer in front of him.
Oh, okay. It's with great esteem and honor that our
Are
board
we talking about
would love
separation
to
resolution in
nominate
Acton School District?
our illustrious superintendent, Dr. Gabriel Trujillo, as Superintendent of the Year. And it gives us a great honor to present this resolution, and it's our hope
He's got, you got.
that you will be able to get that honor of being Superintendent of You. We think you've done great work here in our district, and I wanted Dr. Groman to talk about you, but he wasn't with us quite ready.
I can talk now.
Let me say something if I can.
Go ahead.
I know that some people might think, we're wanting this for our superintendent, but it's not just for our superintendent, it's for our entire community.
Our district.
I have been here 24 years and never has a superintendent that I worked under ever got nominated to be superintendent of the year. That says a great deal for our district and our community and our staff, because we have a leader that is far beyond unexplainable. And I feel honored to work under him as a board member with him, and I feel honored to say, yes, we need to go forward with this because he is very deserving of it. And I want to thank you personally because of the hard work that you have done while you've been here with us in the district. That's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think he's well said.
Well, I'm not short in words. If anyone deserves it, he does.
Thank you. Don't cry, please don't do it.
No, I appreciate that tremendously with the greatest humility. And I will tell you, though, I've used this as an example, is I'm a turtle on a fence post. If you're walking out there in the, anywhere, and you see a turtle, a little boy takes a turtle and puts it on a fence post, the turtle gets to see a world completely different than what they see every single day, and it's because you have individuals around you that lift you up and be able to put you there. I've got a great team of folks, and I'm going to begin with Holly, the superintendent secretary, is the advice that she gives as a secretary, and the wisdom that she brings to that position is a jewel to any superintendent and to a board. And she'll be the first one to tell me, you might consider this, or you might not consider this. And so I genuinely appreciate her tremendously, and her husband, because he shares her with us. On those late evenings, when we have a meeting going on, Holly's right there, making sure that everyone's taken care of, the board's taken care of. So kudos to Holly. My right arm over here, with Michael. Michael knows where all the ins and outs and all the things that are going on. He's a tremendous asset to have in the organization that we have, and genuinely appreciate you, Michael, with the work. Lisa, we can't do that. We don't have the money for that. Where are you going to do that? Where are you going to get the money at? The dimes and the nickels and all the things that we have, and really gives us a really good perspective when it comes to the financial obligations that we have. And Dr. Hill, I've said this to her many times. I have yet to find a curriculum person that is 100% loved by everybody in the organization. And it doesn't happen because you have the critical conversations, the deep conversations that need to be had with folks. And sometimes when you go into people's homes and you talk to them about how they need to redecorate their house, it may not be received well. But I appreciate genuinely what you have and the staff. You have a large department that you work with, Dr. Corley and all the rest of the team that are there, that are doing the things that we have. So I know Ralph is not in here, but I'm going to tell you, Ralph makes me look good, because he asks a lot of questions, and we have, so the list can go on and on and on, but I will tell you, leadership is not about the person that's named. I receive it with the humility that's there, but it's also reaching out and setting up partnerships with our outgoing city manager, with the old mayor and the new mayor, who I met just the other day as we were walking into the bank. And so the university, it's just being open to the opportunities that we have. So I'm blessed beyond measure, and I receive it with the greatest humility. So I appreciate this board recognizing and making this recommendation. So
Thank you, Dr. Trujillo. Before we go into the executive closed session, on behalf of the board, we'd like to extend our thoughts and prayers to Les in the transitioning of his father. I want him to know that we certainly lift him up in our prayers, and to Mr. Martin, whose son is critically ill, and he and his family is going through a lot, but just know that this board have you in our thoughts and our prayers. The board will now conduct an executive closed session to discuss the items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provisions of the Texas Open Meeting Act and as allowed by the Texas Government Code, sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in open session. It is now 1:04. We will not convene into open session before 1:20. Thank you. The board is now reconvening into open session. It is 1:26. Are there any requests for future agenda items from the board?
I don't have any.
With that, if there are no requests, we will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and second that we adjourned. This meeting is adjourned.
Amen.